tripping, I've been sipping, that's how I control.
Radio at its best. Relax Radio.
Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company and entertained all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're going to be talking about all things that is going on in the UK. And hey, if you want to be part of the show, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is hit me up on those numbers, 07852473473. That's right. Those are the magical numbers. You can feel free to call me up. Let me know what you guys are, thinking, or if you have any opinions on any particular matter at hand, well, feel free to call me up. And also, don't forget, you can download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to carry us all day, every day. And with that being said, though, getting back to the topics at hand, we were talking about how the delay in lockdown lifting has urged local, right now they want a lot of these local health leaders have been requesting that the government delay the lockdown lifting is what they're saying right now. They want it to be delayed. And the issue at hand, though, is that the restrictions in England right now is going to be on the 21st of June, should be delayed to stop us going backwards, is what they were saying. And they were talking about all these things, and they are pushing forward with this particular matter at hand. Because looking at the situation and the cases in the country, there has been a rise in these cases, and there has been a rise in the Delta variant as of yet. So the local leaders have been talking about this. And if you're planning to travel abroad, well, make sure you guys stay indoors, because right now that it doesn't look like it is going to happen anytime soon. But there has been talks about this, and yes, we're going to be talking about the 10 tips rather to know before you travel abroad. And before you ask these questions and you're wondering, we're going to be talking about all these things with relations to that. So summer holiday plans have been thrown into confusion. If you're wondering, yes, Boris Johnson did throw a little wrench monkey into all the situation. And there has been issues, right now they postponed the lifting of the lockdown by the 19th of July. So a number of industry experts, when it comes to the travel, believe that the delay in the next easing of the restriction means international travel will not be opened up before the end of July. So ministers review the red, amber, and green lists every 3 weeks with the update, with the next update due on the 24th of June. So the government is telling people not to travel to any of these red or amber countries, and the green list countries include Australia, Brunei, Falk Islands, Faroe Islands, Gibraltar, Iceland, Israel, and Jerusalem, New Zealand, Singapore, South Georgia, and the South Sandwich Islands, and St. Helena, the Ascension, and the Tristan de Cunha. So it's believed that there's going to be a lot more countries added into this particular list. They're going to add more and more countries as they go along. Hopefully, that will sort out, you can have like a repertoire of countries to travel to. So what is the advice, though? What is the current advice when it comes to traveling to a green list country? Well, right now, looking at all these things, Emma Colthurst from the holiday price comparison site Travel Supermarket shared that there's important tips to bear actually in mind if you are booking a green list holiday. So if you're going to go to these green list countries, well, bear these in mind. So first off, you got to see and check if the advice changes to essential travel only. So the Foreign Commonwealth and the Development Office, or the FCDO, gives advice on whether it is safe to visit a country for a holiday. So if advice changes to essential travel only, that does not include holidays, and this is when your package provider would cancel your booking, and you'll have to rebook to a different destination which you can still travel to, or take a refund credit which you can use to rebook or cash in for a refund at any point, although you got to be aware that refund credit notes are only ATOL protected until September at the moment. So receive a full refund into your bank account within 14 days of the cancellation. So if you book your accommodation and flight separately, well, you will be bound by the airline or the hotel's terms and conditions. So there's going to be conditions. Don't think that you are exempted from it. You will have to face these conditions, these particular conditions, and that will be, you will have to take these in note. So some airlines will argue that they are still running the flight as people people need to travel still for essential reasons. So some airlines offer vouchers and others only allow you to rebook for free within a certain time frame. So within a certain time frame, you're allowed to do X, Y, and Z before the original flight is due to go. So if you're booking outside that time frame, well, then you will have to also pay change fees. So booking a package holiday gives you a better consumer protection under the ATOL and also under the package travel regulation. So if you're gonna if you're going to travel to any of these countries, green list countries, well, make sure one thing, make sure that if you travel to these countries, you have to check and see if there are going to be changes to essential travel only. And number two, though, is check the traffic light list and book your tests before you leave the UK. So before you leave, better make sure that you get yourself tested and check the traffic light list in your, in this regard. And the Department for Transport determines the requirements for when you return to the UK from a country. It is believed that the traffic light system is based on infection rates, the COVID variants in the destination, and the progress of its vaccination program and the reliability of a country's data. So all of these are, taken into factor when it comes to this. These are all taken into consideration, especially when you want to travel to these green list countries. So the UK government has not published the data on which it is basing its decisions. So it is currently difficult to know which category a country will be put in. So there was a surprise at the beginning of June that countries such as the Malta, the Finland, and the Canaries and Balearic Islands, which have already relatively high vaccination rates and low coronavirus rates, weren't put on the green list. So yeah, there has been talk about that. Places like the Canary Islands and Balearic Islands and Malta and Finland were not put into this list, although they had considerably less amount of COVID infections and more higher rate of vaccination. So these are just things that they are discussing, and the travel industry is calling for a greater transparency on particular data on which decisions are being made. So the government, the UK government, are making decisions of which country we are allowed to go to and which country we should avoid or refrain travel to. So the travel industry wants more transparency when it comes to that. They want to know more about that. I mean, what is the criteria for these countries? I mean, how can you decide that when a country has such a high rate of vaccinations, why can we not travel to these countries? So there is hope that with the vaccination progress and the progression of all of this and the control of the virus, more destinations will go green at some point in July or in August. So the current speculation is that more countries may be added to the green list at the end of July. So book your tests for when you return to the UK and before you leave the UK on holiday. So resorts will be providing access to lateral flow tests required as a minimum before you fly back to the UK. So yeah, these are just important things that will be happening. So if your country is on the green list, and if you're going to be traveling to these countries, or the country that you're traveling to is on the green list, well, you need to take a lateral flow or PCR test in the 3 days before you leave the country to come back to the UK and have the results before you travel. So you got to remember, you got to have your results before you travel. And it should either be printed out or as an email or text message, and a PCR test on or before day 2. So after your arrival back in the UK, so rather it should be either on your arrival or the second day, that is day 2 in your arrival back in the UK, and you do not need to self-isolate. This is the point that I want to make. When you go to these green list countries, you don't have to self-isolate. That is the whole point, and that is something that we can take into consideration. And a country may go amber but may not be automatically canceled. It is the FCDO advice that tends to be the trigger for a package holiday being canceled, not its move to amber. So if a green list country you've booked your holiday to was to move to the amber list but remained on the FCDO, and it's okay for you, and it's okay for a holiday, you could still go to get prepared, and you have to self-isolate though once you return. So these are things that you will have to consider when you want to go to these countries. These particular countries will require this from you, and you will have to comply with these particular rules. And returning to the UK from these things will require all these things. And if you don't want to or you can't self-isolate, well, you need to book with a company that will allow you to change your holiday holiday if the country which moves from a green list to amber before you travel but remains on the FCDO approved list. So you will need to find a provider which will let you swap your holiday to a different green list destination or to rebook for a future date when the country will hopefully be back on the green list. So you gotta also, there's, yeah, like I said, there are also loopholes when it comes to this particular matter. And yeah, looking at that, also you gotta check whether a country will let you in. That's the first and foremost rule. I mean, just because it's on the green list doesn't mean the country will let you travel to that place. So the traffic light system is not reciprocal and has no bearings whatsoever on whether a country will let you in. So many countries on the green list are still closed to non-residents or require travelers to self-isolate on arrival. So there is no point considering them for holidays. Examples would be Australia and New Zealand. Therefore, it's just as important, if not more important, that you check that a country will let you holiday there, and B, has any requirements. So first of all, A, you will have to you have to make sure that this country will let you holiday there, and B, you'll have to see about the entry requirements. So these are just important factors that you have to take into consideration. So nearly all countries require you to fill out a form before you travel, though. So Iceland requires, on the green list, is requiring you to be vaccinated to holiday there. So if you want to go to Iceland, well, you will have to be vaccinated, and you have to take a free COVID test on arrival and wait for the results in your hotel room. That will be within 24 hours. And the green list, that is Gibraltar, will let you holiday there without being vaccinated, but requires you to pre-book a free COVID test, which you take at its airport on arrival. So once you land in this place in Gibraltar, well, you will have to do this. And yeah, looking at this, Jersey, with a common travel area, is keen for tourism from the UK. And if you're part of its color-coded green areas in the UK, yeah, then you can take a COVID test on arrival. And those who or who haven't been double vaccinated need to self-isolate in their hotel room until they receive the results, which is within 12 hours. Also, you have to be aware that many countries require you to fill out a form if you're going to travel there before traveling to their countries, and in some cases, this will need to be required. You will be required to fill these 24 hours before your travel. That's right. So for countries which are on the FCDO's okay to go holiday list, but currently are on the amber list, and these are the Canary Islands. So yeah, you will have to show that you've been fully vaccinated or have a negative test taken before 48 hours before your arrival, or a certificate that shows that you've recovered from COVID, which is less than 180 days old. And the other one is Portugal, requires you to show a negative test. It no longer has to be a PCR test, but it could be a lateral flow test that is done alternatively. So when you've taken and received for 72 hours before you arrive in the country, well, you will have to do this test. So this applies to all travelers aged 2 and above. So Crete, Corfu, Kos, Rhodes, and Zante, that is the Greece, is actually requiring you to show that you have been double vaccinated or take a PCR test in the UK during the 72 hours before your arrival. So to enter Malta, well, all passengers age 5 and above traveling from the UK have to show a negative PCR test dated within 72 hours prior to arrival. So entry requirements will change, actually will vary from place to place, regularly changes. So make sure you have checked on the latest requirements in the area before you travel. So these are just important points that you have to remember. And also read up on social distancing measures for your destination. So if you're going to go to these destinations, make sure you read up on how much social distancing you have to do and you have to abide with, because these are important, because there are different policies and laws and legislations in these particular countries. So check the social distancing and mask wearing measures for country as a minimum. And yeah, it's likely that you'll need to wear a mask on your flight as well, and at the airport and on all public transport, and maintain at least a 1 meter physical distance while out and about. So familiarize yourself with what is required. Often the best place to check the latest measures in place is the government tourism site for that country. And yeah, looking at all this, you have to remember there are countries that will require you they will have certain requirements, especially if the FCDO's okay to go holiday lists are there. So in Iceland, the mask wearing is no longer required indoors, and restaurants are allowed to open until 11 p.m. So 2 meter social distancing is still required, though, except in restaurants. So in Jersey, masks have to be worn indoors and are also recommended outdoors in busy areas where mask wearing is difficult. And in Portugal, masks need to be worn when walking along promenades and on the beach until you reach your spot on the sand and you have to keep a 1.5 social distance when traveling on the sand. So you still need to wear your mask. So yeah, remember, these countries, these particular places and countries will require you to wear masks. So in Canary, you also must wear your masks as well. In Malta, mask wearing is going to be important. So make sure, you know what? Never mind. Forget about what I'm saying. Make sure you wear your mask wherever you go. I mean, just to be safe, to be protected, you make sure you are protected at all times. Make sure you put on that mask. So in Greece, also, you will be required to do all of these things as well. So make sure you guys follow the regulations and protocols in these particular countries. And yeah, you got to consider a package holiday for better consumer protections. So there will be benefits for booking a holiday and that have come really, which will be affected, and you will have to get a package that has also the ATOL protection. So yeah, these are all important things. And yeah, you got to speak to your employers, read the terms and conditions before taking a plunge and booking your holidays. Book on a credit card is what I could advise you if you're going to travel to these countries. And yeah, especially, check your travel insurance, and if you are insured for these kind of things. And in case you have to cancel, cover includes your travel insurance. Well, if you were to contract, if let's say if you get the virus, well, let's see if your insurance covers all of this. These are important things and factors that you have to take into consideration. So these are just, some of the pointers. And yeah, you also got to make sure that your EHIC is up to date. Remember to bring your EHIC that entitles you to reciprocal medical treatment in 31 European countries where it is free for the country's citizens. So you have to make sure that this is also up to date. So, these are just some of the things and a couple of the things that you will need, that will be required when you travel to these green list countries. So make sure you guys do that. But hey, with that being said, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. And I'll be catching you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, and right here on Relax Radio. And with that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here.